Greetings and welcome to Maisha Kazini. We are pleased to be talking with Mordecai Ogada today. We want to look at the various things that are happening and make some commentary on them. So welcome, Mordecai.
Thanks. It's good to be here again.
Yeah, it's been a while. I think I've been so confused about what is happening, and I've lost my confidence to comment, but I'm glad we are here.
Yeah.
So
much has been happening so fast.
I know. So maybe we can just start, because we're in the heat of the campaigns. What's your overall assessment of what the campaigns are about? What are they telling us about the state of Kenya?
I think the campaigns that are going on are telling us that our country has fallen into a sort of intellectual rut, where decadence has bled into all sectors of our society. Logic is receding further and further into a distance, and we are losing, sadly, our ability to look at things qualitatively. We even look at political candidates as in through quantitative lenses, like how much money is he bringing to the party or the movement, how many votes is he bringing in. We've seen even our media look at candidates and say, so and so is bringing 5 million votes, so and so is bringing. You remember when we talked about them carrying votes in a basket? Even they don't carry votes in a basket, but our media is pushing that same narrative. So
they are giving numbers.
Yes. Our media give numbers as well as these pollsters. That's why we are always seeing on TV maps of Kenya saying the red areas are so and so. You'd think in the red areas there's no brains who can make any decisions. That area belongs to so and it has 5 million registered voters according to IEBC, and they are all going to so and so. This is the math being done in the media all the time, and sadly, Kenyans have gotten sucked into it, and we've stopped looking at quality of candidates
the
as
discussions, even.
Yeah, what will he do for me? What will she do for me? What will he not do for me? What's his or her quality? So we've started looking at external values rather than intrinsic value of the person, which is very sad.
In fact, like for me, why I don't talk about politics much anymore is politicians. Let me say politicians. It's because the conversations are about who is likely to win. It's like you're betting on a horse. So you're trying to say, oh, it could be Arsenal. Oh, Arsenal has these players. Oh, it could be Liverpool. Liverpool has these players. But there's nothing substantial we are saying about ourselves and why we should be voting.
Yes. It's like we've gotten to a point where we have no expectations for service that should be due to us. At least, even if you use the example you looked at, like Premier League teams, there we're actually quite analytical. We see so and so is injured, so and so is looking very fit now. They've recruited so these are intelligent analyses. But with our leaders, we are told, so and so has joined the camp, so now we are likely to win because that's another 2 million votes. How will we benefit from this victory, or what will this victory do to? No one thinks about that, and you can tell by the way people say someone is bad, he or she is bad, she's stupid, all that. When she joins your camp, she's wonderful.
Suddenly flowers.
Or so and so is great until he decides to go to the other camp. He's inconsequential. Inconsequential is probably the most pleasant term which I can share here. The terms people are using are terrible because he went to the other camp. So this shows a populace that has completely hit the intellectual sort of nadir, and that's what worries me about the future of our society more than who takes office. It's just how unintelligent our discourse has become over everything, not just politics, whether it's agriculture, whether it's transport, whether it's social services, education, all this. Our discourse has become so dumb. When we talk about an education program, we defend it by saying, do you know how much money has been spent on it?
Ama, it's here to
When we
stay. And that's what I'm always
yes, or
told.
the train has left the station. Nonsense like that. Yeah, and what will you do with the X number of kids? Someone we proudly say we have 100% transition. What does that mean on the ground? And then suddenly people say, oh, my star 6 kid is going to have to be in a high school with older kids, and those are the practicalities we should have been talking about. But we praise the minister for thumping his chest and saying we have 100% transition. Yet we forget that the only 100% transition on earth is the transition from life to death. That one is guaranteed. We'll all die. There's nothing else there's no other 100% transition that appears anywhere on earth. That's not the nature of thermodynamics or anything, even in science.
And it's not even an election issue. That's just so strange.
Yes.
Nobody bringing it up.
Even the cost of living that is strangling us now is not an election issue.
That is so strange.
On the very day these people were choosing running mates, the price of petrol went up by 5 shillings and something. No one talked about that.
Probably it was not a coincidence.
Yeah,
I think people brought the price was raised that time so that people can't listen.
If EPRA was smart, they would have raised it by 50 bob on that day.
I know, nobody would have noticed.
Yeah.
Gosh. So are these elections about us, really?
No, most definitely not. They're not about us. In my assessment, the election is about the collapse of a dying monarchical feudal system that is struggling to stay afloat or relevant despite the weight of its own decadence. It's collapsing under its own weight. No one's killing it. No one's beheaded. There's no beheading like the French Revolution and those kind of things, but it's just collapsing under the weight of its own wastefulness, indolence, ignorance, arrogance, and all those other things. And then another new order. I don't know yet. The jury is still out if the new order is a monarchy or a republic. But the new order is also trying very aggressively to take its own place. And all the politicians, all down the spectrum from the top down to MCA, are sort of eyeing these two sides. Should I jump on this side or this side? Am I on the side of the old monarchy or the new order? And yeah, it's an existential crisis sort of thing, because I don't know where the old monarchs, the old nobles will go after they lose their kingdom. I mean, where they'll go figuratively, and we don't know how the new order will behave, whether it will become another monarchy. But it's not about us. You and me on the ground. It's not about us. That's why they don't talk about the price of bread at political rallies.
Yeah, that is so strange.
Nobody talked about the price.
It's about making fun of everybody else, of the guys on the other side.
Yeah. And you see it even with selective. There's been a mishmash because of the dishonesty of our politicians. They've been switching sides back and forth. So suddenly, people tell you about this wonderful thing this person was doing in the 1990s, but they will not tell you about the shady things he or she did 5 years ago. There's that selective memory. Then, as we said earlier on, as they switch sides, their reputations change. So and so is useless, or he's come to our side. He's a good leader, and that kind of thing. So we've lost track of even the reason why we are voting for who we are voting for. But I think for a ball to bounce, it has to hit the ground first. So I think we're hitting the ground, and we intellectually, Kenya cannot get any worse than we are today. We are the dumbest we've ever been, certainly in my lifetime.
Extremely dumb. But maybe we can unpack what you're saying about it. It's about the monarchy that is collapsing. Maybe we explain, because this is more than just about the Kenyattas. What do you mean by monarchy?
I think not monarchy or a feudal system is that where a situation where so many people, especially those who are in the high echelons of industry, civil service, government, education, and all that, are there because somebody in their past was chosen by someone to be there.
They're born to the right family.
Yes, there was a choosing that happened, and this choosing happened. The original choosing happened immediately pre-independence, and also continued a bit post-independence. And if you follow the track, it's incredible. Even if you go to parastatal boards, you go into parastatals themselves, you go into schools, there's been this choosing. I've been to a PTA meeting of a national school, and it was like a sitting of parliament. And I was wondering, is it that politicians have the smartest kids? But it's not that. It's the fact that we still have feudalism. We pretend that feudalism, that Kenya is a Republican
meritocracy.
System. Yes. But it's still a very feudal society. And it's this feudalism that's collapsing. It's this feudalism that's collapsing. And it's collapsing not necessarily at the bottom, it's collapsing at the top end with this election. It's threatened with collapse at this election. Then if it collapses at the top, then the collapse will slowly trickle down to the bottom. In that it will bring a new order. It might bring a new feudalism. I'm not saying feudalism will end, but the old one will certainly end. And I think this is the problem, because you go right across the board, senior officials in any department of government is connected to so and so. Recently, there was a passing out of police cadets at Kiganjo, of trainee officers. And the passing out parade was like a gathering of parliament and politicians. So many of these were just politicians' kids and leaders and important people's kids. So that's what I mean. We have in place our colonial masters were feudal, so we
and they appointed the right people and hoped that they would just. But what is it about Kenyans that doesn't bother us? That it doesn't bother us, that it's just the same families all the time. I mean, it doesn't bother us in terms of, I think the only time people are bothered are like, whoa, but my kid, how come my kid can't get a job? But the idea that all these institutions are being run by the same people, it doesn't seem to bother us.
I think in my view, feudalism is not, it's not something you can see. Like physically. Feudalism is a mental structure. And it's not an event, it's a mental structure. And once you achieve, you complete the constructing that mental structure, you're in a very good place, because even the person at the bottom carrying the weight of that mental structure has internalized the belief that that is his or her place in life. And the only path to advancement is through your liege or your lord or your noble, whoever your chosen noble is. And this is what completely flies against meritocracy. And that's why we have been struggling even to install this. As I said, it's a mental structure you can't see, but now we've actually decided we want to create it physically in CBC.
I know. And guys,
we want to create it in practice. We want to create it in practice, that kids from certain schools out there in the bundus, or for lack of a better term, will become the carpenters and the plumbers, or as one said, kids from Tana Delta will become DJs
and comedians instead of coding.
It must have been Joan who was saying that. And so CBC we are trying to actualize that primitive feudal structure, and we have academics, a whole bunch of them, who are decadent enough to follow and implement the instruction of uneducated nobles. So that's the problem we find ourselves in. If we had CBC before, we wouldn't have someone like the late Dr. Mordecai Ogada. I hear that guy's academic records remain unbroken since whatever. But a kid from Marsabit, we are cutting off the path for a kid from Marsabit to get to where Mordecai Ogada got to. Simple as that. And we think it's okay. That's why when one of the politicians said we'll dismantle CBC, I said, well, someone is seeing how to get my vote.
And what is wrong? Because, you know, people are saying, oh, it shouldn't matter where you're born as long as you can do the work. And these people, the fact that they were born here doesn't affect their capacity to work. So what would you say to that kind of response? Because remember when Mordecai was being elected the first time, I kept saying, no, you can't get somebody from a family like that. Then people say, does it matter as long as he can do the work?
It's a very crazy assessment, because one thing we do not understand still in Kenya is what work is. It's like we don't know what work is.
Yeah,
exactly. We are looking for jobs, yet we don't know what work is. That's why even those of us, so many of us who get jobs, are failing to do those jobs properly. You think you've been, even let's say, like many of them get it because your auntie or your uncle or someone was, you had connection. Now you are in there. Your uncle helped you get this job. I think the best way to pay back your uncle for help is to work hard and work well, and make him be praised even for bringing that bright nephew or niece of his. But we don't know what work is, so we go and sit there in indolence and indulge in sort of entitled behavior and that kind of thing. And it goes to the very top. That's why we are having this furor of a certain people feeling entitled to use someone else's creative work.
Yeah, Sauti Soul.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you find the peons, the serfs at the bottom of the social pyramid in Kenya are fighting tooth and nail with abuse everywhere, fighting for the tin god's right to usurp someone else's work. We are making this about those particular men, Sauti Sol, and that particular political party. Every musician deserves to be paid for his or her song, period. And that's what this is about. That's the issue. Should an artist who paints on a wall or whatever murals should be paid for that work? So it's not about the political party or this particular band. But when these people choose to stand up for themselves, the people even below them are throwing stones at them. Those people are standing up for us.
Yeah, people who suffer from not being paid for their work.
I'm always writing on Facebook that stupid media outlets are always wanting to publish my writing for free.
In fact, they copy-paste from our blogs.
Yeah, they copy-paste. I've seen Standard newspaper copy-pasted a Facebook post of mine. Then Dennis Galava called me to ask me now to write an article, and I refused. So when Sauti Sol is fighting, they're fighting for me. They're fighting for me. I know the pain of what they're feeling. But since people, the huge masses, we've managed to create a mass of people who don't know what work is. You see them defending injustice in this manner, which is really sad. Sauti Sol will be fine, but think of all the other struggling musicians whose stuff gets misused. Sauti Sol are fine. It's crazy that some people think they're gaining prominence. These are globally recognized bands. Some people think they're gaining prominence. They're gaining promotion from a political rally in Kenya. No, these are globally recognized people. But it's the small upcoming artists, the ones from Tana Delta that Duane is talking about. Those are the ones who will get exploited.
And how hard is it to write and say, look, we want to use this song. Can you allow us to use it?
Yeah, who knows? They might even say, yeah, no problem. In fact, I don't think anything I've ever written on a blog or something, someone writes to me and says, can I use this thing you've written? I've never said anything other than yes. I've never said anything other than yes. But the entitlement of our nobles is sickening.
To work which they don't do. They don't know the value of work.
No, they don't. And then those of us down here who do not know the meaning of work support that bad behavior, because we don't know the meaning of work. It would be better if the if Kenyans could learn to just take a moment, take your time, understand what's going on. Not just in this issue, but in all issues, understand what's going on. That's why we don't understand corruption. The average Kenyan can't make a connection between the cost of living and corruption.
Because that is mental work. People don't want to work, especially if they're not being paid for it. So they don't bother.
That's why someone says, kwani alikula pesa yako? Si alikula pesa za serikali. Serikali haina pesa. Serikali has my money. It's taxpayers' money. Government doesn't have money. It's taxpayers' money. And you see people saying, hear that all the time. Kwani alikula pesa zako? You are saying alikula sijui bilioni ngapi wapi? Kwani zilikuwa pesa zako? In all seriousness, because we don't know the value of work.
Yeah, and maybe I don't know, sometimes I feel maybe the younger Kenyans are beginning to see it, because they do a lot of work through internships and other kinds of things, and yet they don't get paid. Yes,
the young, as I've said before, the young are our best hope. Those of our age,
no, you can't help them.
Irretrievably defiled. These are the lost generation. But young people, they can see someone like this. There's some young lady who does sort of TikTok videos, dancing and all that. They can see this young lady. She gets this song, she plays and does a dance, and she's getting paid. People advertise on her page, and she gets paid. They see that young man called Flacco. I don't know what his name is. He started making jokes. He's now doing things for Communications Authority of Kenya online. He's getting paid. There's this guy getting paid. He's paying rent. He's buying food, whatever, because of this. So they are saying this thing is work. This thing he's doing, these jokes he's cracking here, it's work.
It's work.
It's work. And those are that digital, the so-called digital generation. They are the ones who are getting to understand this. So believe you me, no politician will dare try and steal Flacco's work and put it on their political advertisement. I can tell you that. No one will dare. Because they're stealing from a generation who knows the value of work. These are people, if you watch their old videos, you can tell when they start doing these videos, they even didn't have nice clothes to wear in the videos. Now they are somewhere. Able to try stealing his work. I dare any politician try stealing those guys' work. These young digital content creators, try stealing their work. The next video will be about you.
I know, you can't risk.
And those 2 million views will be shown how stupid you are.
By the way. Gosh. So the other thing I was wondering about, what is this about bribing or negotiating with people to not vie for a certain seat on a certain ticket? So we've seen this in Nairobi. We've seen now with he's called Owino of CI. What is that about? Because no, I'm not getting. Why can't the person just vie on another ticket?
I think it's about protection of the feudal kingdom. Some of these candidates for these positions are people with proven running, with proven records. They're capable leaders, but they are not from the right bloodlines. I mean, actual biological bloodlines or political bloodlines. So the kingdom cannot countenance. You can't create a king. You can't have someone. When a king, all his power must come from his blood, so to speak. He cannot have power from the people. Then get in there. Then you start wanting him to serve the kingdom. He might refuse, or it's a risky proposition, or he might start a new bloodline. So he might start a new bloodline. He can start a new bloodline. So places like Nairobi are very important seats of the feudal kingdom. So you can't just have Mordecai there because Mordecai sang the right songs and danced to the right tune.
Even
Then you
if
put
Mordecai goes
there.
and says, Ati, I'll do anything you want, even signs
Yes,
a pact,
yes.
that's still
Very,
not enough.
very risky. Mordecai's kid now will soon claim to be royalty.
Oh, yeah.
In 5
I
years'
had not
time,
remembered that one.
yeah, in 20 years' time, Mordecai's kid
Of
will claim to be
course.
royalty, together with the ones who were of the original royalty. So you can't have that, and this is why they bend over backwards. And sadly, our political system is such that the politicians also, these leaders succumb to these. Some of them, it's not even inducement. Some, it's just sort of arm twisting. It's not an inducement like a bribe you gained from it. Some of them are arm twisted and given false promises. And because I've seen even a very strange phenomenon of positions. This is the first time in this first election in Kenya that I can remember. Positions are being promised to people before the election is won.
I've
It's
never
like,
seen that. They're being promised my CS post,
yes, yes. It's like
Yeah.
hunters chasing an impala and someone's being promised the liver, yet this thing is still there running. You'll get the liver, sour. Then you also keep quiet. Yeah, how? It's a shocking thing that someone can do it because it raises suspicions. Do you know something that we don't? Even more shocking is that the person being promised is stupid enough to accept that promise. Some of the positions I've seen position promised that's not even there in the constitution, and someone's accepting a promise of that. So, and then now we start saying you want it in writing. You want it in writing, and it's not in the constitution.
And it's not. And you want it in writing.
Yes. What do you want in writing? Backroom deals. We were told a politician. This is the first election where a politician has actually come in the public domain and said, "I'm not sure what we signed."
This
Imagine
is madness.
imagine if you are a constituent of that politician, it's frightening. Even me on my small desk, I never signed something I haven't read. Like, this guy signed something and he says over me, I'm not sure what we signed.
Wait, where do people get this audacity to negotiate for positions they are not even sure they will get?
Yes.
And I don't know, that is so bizarre.
It's like, in fact, Kiswahili puts it best. No, it's not. I don't know if it's audacity or if it's just dumbness, because some of the positions being negotiated for, if you look closely in law as it exists today, Kenyan law, with my layman knowledge, that position does not exist. That position does not exist. And someone promises it to you in a public forum where your constituents are also listening, and you also accept that promise, and it's
so strange.
It's very strange. I mean, I've even seen even a candidate has given positions out that may or may not be subject to interviews as far as the constitution is concerned. Don't we have something about interviewing candidates? So how have these are no longer nominations. These people are subjected to interviews, even cabinet positions, I remember. So I think the election has become about a feudal kingdom and system trying to preserve itself by any means necessary. Yeah. BBI was the first iteration of that any means necessary. Obviously, that one hit the skids. It went down, but now I'm not sure by what pretext these laws are going to be flouted now this time.
Although maybe I hadn't mentioned this, but maybe there's something the British and the Americans are somewhere in that mix. So maybe that's where they are getting confidence from. I don't know. It's so strange.
I mean, I wouldn't be. It does surprise me that you say that because I know our leadership seeks confidence, not from our contentment, but from the contentment of external people. Everything from our neurotic tourism industry to our loud screams over the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Everything is about our COVID containment measures. You see, there's a lockdown in London, get stock up on food, it's coming to Nairobi. It's just that kind of thing. There's an emptiness that has hit the core and soul of our country that you can't find. You can go around everywhere and ask, you can't find out what we want as us, as a people, as a nation. You can't find, even at the basic level. If you are on a job interview panel, you ask a candidate, what do you think? They're terrified. They get terrified, upset, stressed, and everything. What do you mean? What do I think? I'm here to please you, and now you're asking me what. I'm here to please you into giving me a job.
Students are
and you're
like
asking
that.
me what I think. Exactly. You give an assignment and they're cracking their heads trying to work out, what does Mwalimu want?
Really want? And you've put it very there, in your opinion.
Yes.
What is this, that?
Yes.
When you get the assignment back, you're like, hiya. And somebody's trying to guess what you want, but they don't know you.
They don't know you. They don't know you yet, and yet what you want is not even part of this course.
Yes.
The course is to develop their own opinions. So that's a hollowness that has hit us here. That's why even in our tourism policy, we keep looking at what might foreigners want. Look at the beautiful Mount Longonot crater.
I saw that.
Someone got the stupid idea that foreigners want a zip line across that thing. If you've ever hiked up there, you know how crumbly and delicate that volcanic scree or whatever they call. In fact, you easily slip and fall down when going or when hiking around there. So where are they going to fasten this zip line without destroying the lip of the crater? It's nonsense. Foreigners wanted to do love the World Rally Championship, and foreigners, the only thing that's special about Kenya is animals. So you bring a World Championship rally into a
national park.
Yeah, because what a foreigner wants to see in Kenya is animals, and foreigners love they have the World Rally Championship, and all we can offer them is animals to see. Rather than do the rally, wherever you do it, and after the rally, organize a tour to they can go see the wildlife.
There's that very literal interpretation of things. I was saying on Facebook how we were teaching these Canadian students, and the institution in organized for us a trip to the national park. What?
Yeah. Mzungu akija Kenya amekuja kuona wanyama. That is the thinking. That is the thinking. There's nothing else special about Kenya other than these animals.
Other than wildlife.
The rest of us here, these people here are just nuisances.
And then when Kenyans get employed abroad, Gava and the media, they are so excited.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. The UK to take I don't know how many nurses. Next you're being told they don't know English.
Actually, the kind of stupidity we've seen these last 5 years.
Then when in the sad cases where some Kenyans are mistreated or killed while working abroad, the silence is deafening. Not even that, that's a diplomatic statement. I don't know how much impact those people, even summoned the ambassador to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Nothing. Because a jobless Kenyan is a worthless being. And once they are dead, then
they are not bringing remittances, so why bother?
They are not bringing remittances, so yeah.
You know, somebody was replying to a post I wrote about that, and he was saying the Philippines, they are workers. The government watches them like a hawk.
You do not touch them, and they're the majority there in the Gulf. You do not dare touch them. They have an attaché there whose job it is to keep an eye on those people, and they report to him everybody. Are you okay? You okay? You okay? Yeah.
But our civil servants, what is that?
Empty, hollow, hollow people, empty, hollow souls. They pick the briefcase of laptop, go sit in the office and go back home. Done no work, feel nothing. I worked hard and got degrees to sit in this office. I've now achieved what I wanted.
So maybe we can even talk about what is happening to the educated Kenyans. Some of the things they are saying, the things they are doing, it doesn't make sense.
I mean, most it's a generally believed thing that societies are built or changed by the educated. Kenya, it won't happen from the educated. Not this current generation of the educated. In fact, we survive in spite of them. Even the way you and I think, we think like that in spite of our education, not because of it. Almost everything we talk about is against what I was expressly taught.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think the worst is when we talked some time back about the death of the academy. The academy is dead, and the gangrene now is spreading across our society. It's spreading in two directions: upwards in the academics who've done up to their PhDs and are aspiring for government positions. When they get those government positions, the gangrene spreads into government. Some of the academics who've done up to their PhDs are now run for elective office. When they get elected into parliament, the gangrene spreads into parliament. And now below, we have the academics who have got high qualifications in the field of education. The gangrene is spreading downwards into the kids through CBC. So actually the academy is the source of the malaise that is in Kenya, because every stupid thing you do, you will find an academic who will sit there and say it's good. Every project, including like there was one the Galana Kulalu irrigation thing. I had colleagues in wetlands biology who wrote documents, EIAs, saying there is no endangered species that will be harmed by that abstraction of water. And it went ahead. And there are academics who said that the SDR will have zero effect on Nairobi National Park. They're there. Their names are there on the paper. So academics are at the root, at the core of the rot that is in Kenya. Every damn thing you do, you will find an academic there robustly defending it. And I tell you, I'm a professor. Who are you to?
Like BBI? BBI was written by professors.
Yes.
Adam
Zolo. I feel like registering for a class in the University of Nairobi just to sit in Adam Zolo's class and ask him about BBI. We right now we have the governor of Kisumu, a professor, saying that a school should be moved out of town because it's not commercially gainful to the county.
And he said that. I said, Coach, how can you say
of
that?
The highest order. And you talk to anybody, they say, that's a professor. Who are you? If you look at commercial viability as the reason for anything, playgrounds will be gone, churches will be gone, public parks where people sit under trees will be gone, because none of these things are commercially viable. Everything that temples, even Kisumu has many temples, even Hindu temples, they will be gone because they're not commercially viable. What's going to remain if you decide that everything that's not commercially viable gets out of there? If he was a thinker, he would call an architect and ask him to design soundproof windows for that school, and plant a thicker hedge and more trees between the school and that bus stand.
Yeah.
Break time is not a problem, because actually, after all, in break time, when I was in school, we were even noisier than the bus stand. You are screaming in the break
Oh
time.
yeah,
So that
kids are
when we are outside, yeah,
very
when we are outside, it's not a problem. Put soundproof windows. But the professor has come up with that primitive idea. And that is the core of what's wrong with academia in Kenya. Academia exists for its own sake, not to improve society.
I'm just amazed at how, even when CBC came, all those professors, none of them went to Google Scholar to check, does this thing work?
Yes, that basic question.
How does that happen?
That basic question. Even you, when you buy your TV, you open that instruction manual to see how to plug it in and all that. And that's the decadence. So he's referring to he's not seeking any reference point outside himself. None. His reference point is his own pomposity and that kind of thing. And you find these things. I recently gave a talk to a group of students from University of Georgia who are asking, how can the biophysical sciences or biologists reverse the colonial trends in conservation? And I said they can't. You are the problem. Because we have PhD is a doctor of philosophy. We have doctorates with no philosophy. Where is the philosophy?
Yeah.
You have a doctorate saying that 99% of ants living in this place eat cockroaches. Where's the philosophy? Why that research you did is just to build skills that help you think about world problems. And that's
philosophically.
Philosophically. Yeah. What you are coming out there is philosophy. So I should not have a problem sitting down and having a conversation with someone who has a PhD in engineering. Because if we have philosophical thinkers, then we'll find common philosophical grounds to talk about. But right now, the problem is there is no philosophy. In the West, they've lost sight of the philosophy. Here in the global South, we think, in fact, that the paper is the objective. The paper is the objective. That's why you find PhDs who have never written anything of substance after he finished or he or she finished the PhD. Have never read anything of substance after he or she finished the PhD. And they actually put in their CVs conferences attended, countries visited. So what if you visited X number of countries? You should be sharing your ideas and that kind of thing. So it's back to the decadence quantitative. How long is your CV? 10 pages? Some even have 100 pages.
Yes.
Why is it 100? What's in 100 pages?
You don't need 100 pages.
What are you saying there in 100 pages? Instead of, so you're trying to establish value external to what you are or what you think or who you are. Yet those two things are the most important thing to yourself and the world around you. That's why if people come and ask you a question, I'd like to ask you a question about something even that you didn't study, then someone realize that's a compliment actually, that it's about accounting and this guy studied ecology. But philosophically, I think he can help me because I think he seems like a thinker. And what I need here is thought. Yeah. But much of us, and here academics aspire to government positions.
I know.
PS ambassadorial positions. The only reason academics write in the newspapers on and on is to get government positions. You can see them. Some of them have even gotten positions in campaign secretariats. Some are spokespersons. So that was your contribution to the world, to become a spokesperson for a campaign after spending years in academia.
But I've actually been thinking about that. Gosh, I hate to say this, but what's an alternative, system of social, social value? If I'm not going to become a CES, because I mean, see, we've been told, even you've seen people saying, the next government should appoint Dr. Ogada, chair of I don't know what, CS of what,
There'll be bloodshed.
I know, But
okay,
what is this impulse for us to think after you get education, that's the next thing, government, and not something else?
I think the saddest thing is that through bad policies, the government has made everything else wither and die, such that
Yeah.
it has remained the biggest employer.
Yes.
It has remained the biggest purchaser, the biggest market for goods and services. That's a very sad state of affairs. If we put a government policy, if we create academia as a path, as in there should be no path from VC to cabinet. No.
Yes.
So in academia, the topic is you'll get to VC. Now you can be invited to talk to cabinet to advise them on what universities need, etc., and all that, but you cannot go, because once this is a path to government, it means that once someone is a VC, he's the most senior academic now, but he's so close to government that if the government mistreats academics, he can't risk speaking out, because he's jeopardizing his chances of getting into that hallowed company of cabinet secretaries or ambassadors or permanent secretaries. So we should have that someone in government. Government can recruit people from the practice field, like maybe an engineer getting into a practicing engineer getting into the Ministry of Works and all that. But once a practicing engineer gets into academy, teaching engineering, he gets up to be VC and all that. Once you start courting that guy for position in immediately the management of the academy or the university will instantly go down. These are people who should always advise government, but they should not be part of government. For example, myself, if government wanted to engage with me, I would welcome that, but I would give advice, help us draw up a policy for this, a sort of time limited thing. We are giving, we'd like 6 months. Can you draw up a policy on us for this and break it down for us and hand it over? I'd happily do that.
Yeah.
But you want to appoint me to a government position, the first thing you want me to do is to shut up and stop talking about what's wrong.
Yeah.
And then you put me in there. Even if I stay only and survive, I'd probably survive for 5 to 8 months in government. After I leave, I'm also tied up by the Official Secrets Act.
Yeah.
I can't talk about the crap I've seen in there. So the objective of getting me into government is not from a good place. It's because you see me as a problem.
And you know that Secrecy Act, I only discovered it the other day. I didn't know it was there.
Yeah, you don't.
And when we are our age, you don't have many years after retirement. And you'll still be bound by that Secrecy Act until you're 90. Yes. So you can't say anything.
And you see, when you go and join the cabinet, you can want to change things, you can make, but cabinet has to approve whatever you propose. You can propose all the wonderful things, and then cabinet says no, and that's the end of it. And then you're out here, people are saying, this guy is going to cabinet, he's doing nothing, he's not helping us, and you at the same time, Secret Act, you can't talk. So you fail to make a difference. It's a lose-lose. You fail to make a difference. You also lose your reputation. You in some ways, you even lose your faith in your ability to change things. And that's probably the saddest loss. So there's a death, psychological death that will occur there. And you can see it from the many experts who have joined the government in various fields.
And then, once people are saying, I'm going to join government if I do my work well and what, then they even censor themselves even before they have joined.
Yes, because now they're cutting these positions. And even those who go for elective office, I want to get, if I'm an expert in conservation policy, in parliament, I mean, I'll be busy pandering to party politics, unless maybe a party decided we are nominating you to parliament to be our natural resource policy person in there. I'm there down to, my constituency is the natural resource policy or whatever. and we our system of governance has not reached that level of thinking where you can nominate a security guy to be a security guy in parliament, or an education person to be an education person in parliament, advise fellow MPs, etc., and write bills. But we haven't reached there yet. So right now, aspiring to anything in government is aspiring to throw your things in the dustbin, your qualifications in the dustbin, and put yourself at the same level with people who don't know better.
And then that makes sense, because if our kids are being taught by us who are like this, then it's not surprising that even then they don't aspire for knowledge.
No, they don't aspire for knowledge, because it's because in our generation, those who even have knowledge, we don't share it. I know this thing is bad, but I won't say it. I won't tell you how many people write to me constantly, like, I work for this, so I can't speak out. This and this is happening. And some of these are horrible things that are happening. Lakini siwezi sema, siwezi ongea. And I ask myself, so what is it? Did you think you have 500 years to live on this earth? What difference are you going to make? Why are you there? Why are you there? I mean, what is that organization or your society, or even your soul, gaining from you being in that office? Your soul. You just go home, really, and you can see it in the violent behavior of Kenyans, whether violence online and all that. They're depressed people. They're depressed people. He knows he's going to a hospital and he's not treating people. He's going to an accounts office and he's signing corruption checks or whatever. He's in the security offices and he's letting thugs get away. He's an auditor and he's covering up theft. He's a forest officer and he's facilitating logging. Those kind of things. Those are people who you can't be content with yourself. And I think that's what's killing the soul of our country.
Oh, yeah, because we are sitting on ourselves and suppressing what we know is right.
Yeah, siwezi sema. Nani alifanya hivi, lakini siwezi sema.
Okay, but do you know how painful it is to speak out? What kills, and I know we talked about this once, it's the loneliness.
Yes.
It's not even a fear of something happening to you. It's just knowing you'll be alone.
Yeah, the ostracization. I mean, I experienced it in the conservation field in between 2017 and 2018. Friends, colleagues who had known and worked with for years could not be seen even having a cup of coffee with me. And ironically, my views are accepted now because they suddenly saw my views being accepted and acknowledged outside the country.
What is that?
Recognition. My recognition started from the US and Europe. That's when conservation officials, NGOs, etc., started recognizing and actually seeking out my expertise in Kenya. Because we don't believe in ourselves. Oh my God, he's upsetting the kingdom. He's upsetting the plantation. Then suddenly, oh, Masa is listening to him. So I'd better listen to him as well. It's a very sad indictment of our mentality. And it doesn't matter which field you go to the States, you'll find Kenyan experts all over the place.
And we just told the line. I'm sorry. I mean, politically, I don't think Kenyans, sorry, but I don't see Kenyans taking important international political positions. We are technically very good.
Yeah.
We go, we change traffic laws somewhere, we write what. But
I was just saying that the head of urban planning, like in London or something, is a Kenyan.
Yeah.
Like, what? Look at Nairobi.
But he wouldn't be allowed here.
No, he wouldn't be. He wouldn't be. I know a Kenyan engineer you look at the standard of engineering in Japan. I know a Kenyan civil engineer working in Japan after having failed to make an impact and running into trouble over these issues here in Kenya. She's making it in Japan. With their standards there, she's making the incredibly high, crazy high standards there. She's making it there and excelling all over the world. Even people like the late Callistus Duman could never find a footing in or a place in Kenyan systems. And it's because the hollowness is very profitable to a small number. You see, getting expertise and content would profit the entire country, but hollowness profits a small number.
And if it profits a small number, these people don't want all of us to succeed.
They defend it. They defend it thoroughly. They defend it thoroughly. That hollowness is defended. Just like anything that right now you look at the way you do things, anything that's expensive and sustainable and requires procurement is always preferred. You come up with any idea, but if it doesn't require procurement, if there's a conservation idea I come up with that doesn't require building of a fence there,
okay, now going back to elections as we wind up.
Yeah.
So we are saying there's a collapse. There's a collapse of a system and it's not working.
Yeah.
So what should we be anticipating past because actually now it doesn't even matter who wins. What should we be anticipating and maybe aspiring for once elections are over?
My personal view is the lower down you go, the more important it is, and I want to try because the positions people have taken on the top, like the presidency and all that, are not based on any logic. They're like cultish.
Yes.
I don't want to convince anyone one way or another. But the MCA, the guy who's responsible to fix that road outside your home, the county governments also, those who are responsible for waste disposal, these things that touch you right there, whether it's the health services you receive at the local dispensary, you must be ruthlessly hard on them. Vote for the guy or the lady who will fix that, so that when your kid is sick at night, that dispensary there where you rushed him by border working. And I think that if we do that, then suddenly the bottom will stop being part of the cult. The bottom will be part of a cult of service. And you get to the point, because there are some few leaders at the bottom, a few MPs, many MCAs who have achieved some status that people don't even care which party he or she is in. They call them by name. Mimi ni wanani. Hata sijui ni chama gani yako. Or he's gone to which party? So he lost the nomination anyway, but mimi ni wake tu. And that's when we get to sort of a cult of service. That's where it should be. After the election, I think we should look closely. We should not expect miracles from government. We must get to work. If you are a doctor, you put your head down and serve those patients. If you are a teacher, put your head down and do your best for those kids. Even as we hope and pray for a crappy system to be changed, do your best for the kids under the circumstances. Whether you're building a road, build the best road you can, because the change is not going to come from the top. What's happening at the top and what I hope for is for an old decrepit system to collapse, old decrepit feudal structure to collapse. If that my expectations are down that low, actually.
But you know what you're saying is why the central state has been fighting devolution.
Yes.
Because they've started realizing how irrelevant the central government is.
Yes. And how many young leaders, I personally know so many young leaders who decided last year, started doing groundwork to campaign. I want to run for MC, I want to run for senator, I want to run for MP and all. And you get to last month, the mainstream party they've been campaigning for and working for all this time tells them, buzz off.
Why?
It's because they don't. Who are they? Whose blood? They are not royals. Despite the good work they've done, they are not royals. One by one, all the ones I know, not a single one has been allowed to run for nomination. They've all been muscled out. And I'm sure many other Kenyans know many others. And that shows you. That just shows you what we have. The feudal system, it hides even within political parties that call themselves political parties. Even in there is feudalism. So and so. Whose son is he? Whose sister is she? Whose wife is he? Whose brother is, oh, okay. Yes, that one. The one who's been working the last year, you are a nobody. In fact, they tell you, the common line is that you are still young. 2027. It's not yet. What? You remember when I've had leaders talk about unbridled ambition? Who told you that you've got time in this world? People like you are talking about Franz Fanon. If he thought he would live to be 80, he wouldn't have written anything. He died, I think, in his 30s.
Late 30s, yeah.
Yeah, and left us with a mountain, a world of knowledge. If he started waiting, you thinking it'd be 80 to do, it wouldn't have happened. So I think that from the bottom, in terms of the lower echelons of devolved government, that's where change will come from, and the younger generation.
Yeah.
And the younger generation, the change will come from, because you're right. The system, the feudal structure is what fights devolution. And I can tell you that despite the devolution in law, even now, services you provide to county governments are still paid from treasury. I know it because I have provided service and have been paid from treasury. After waiting for I don't know how long, the money came from treasury.
So the counties were not even being given autonomy over
the allocation. We came up with this thing in Kenya called allocation.
Yeah.
Allocation is on paper. The money is not actually taken anywhere. It's not taken. The money I got paid from treasury, a small contract. Mine is not even. I'm not a road constructor, so I don't have this 10, 50 million, 80 million contract. So devolution still has. It's a wonderful thing, but it still has to get there. We are not there. We are not there. If that 15%, whatever they're talking about, is genuine, they should give it to counties. Now, they should give that money to counties. There it is. Now you spend it and report to us how you spend it.
Yeah.
And the same people who cannot give this 15% were now telling us they wanted to give 35. If you can't give 15, they wanted to give 35.
So even when they're telling us 15, there is nothing in the county account.
No. The only thing the county has is these ones they collect, like from markets, parking.
Yeah.
That one is in their account.
Yeah.
But the revenue allocation, it's allocated in the books, but it is there in treasury.
And why aren't governors saying? But they did. They said it sometime at the beginning. But they gave up.
They get arm twisted by the interests of their political parties and all that. In fact, I don't know why governors have any interest in political parties. I don't know. I don't know why they bother with political parties. If you serve well,
it's what do you call? I think it's just an old story, and it hasn't occurred to them that it
hasn't occurred to them. Yeah. I mean, like Keep Your Live and Work has had the only independent candidate governor, and who's managed to function quite well and much better than other party affiliated governors I've seen in other counties. So I don't know why governors, it's about, you're an executive, it's about service. I don't even know why they bother with political parties or national politics. But yeah, I think the old big monsters take time to die.
Yeah. And it's this one has taken long, but I'm happy it's dying. I mean, whoever knew that we would have two front runners who are not Kikuyu? I mean, what? We moved.
You
I'm
know,
sure even the Americans are disappointed because they've always been calculating, oh, we must have two tribes fighting. Yeah, but I mean, that's just amazing that we are there. Well, no thanks to Moigai, but
yeah, I mean, the way things change in the world, in human societies, a lot of times humans, a lot of the problem with the old structures like monarchies, they think human society is like a house. If I build it and build it where I live it, it will stand. Human society is not rigid. It will change. It will change even without being pushed by anyone. It will change because privilege and extreme privilege begets weakness. It's very it's simple common sense that you have extreme privilege. After 3 generations of extreme privilege,
people are just saying no.
I mean how strong can you be if you're a 3rd generation of people who never had to do anything, who never had to contribute or create, do work, what we've described as work. If you maybe your grandfather never had to work, your father never had to work, what hope is there of you working?
There isn't.
There isn't hope.
Unless
and at the end of the day, unless you go crazy, I mean, and at the end of the day, everything is work. Be it even campaigning for office, it's work. It's hard work. Once you get that office to function as a legislator or whatever, it's work. So failure will come from those edifices of privilege. And I mean, the transition that's happened in Kenya, we all hope it will be peaceful, etc. But I'm glad to see it happening in my lifetime. It's a privilege. That's a privilege.
Yes. Yeah, it's something we like me 5 years ago, I was really making noise about Uzbekistan. Who knew to die?
I mean, yeah, it gets a time you are seeing darkness. You're wondering, hey, so this is it for me, eh? I'm going to die and leave this dark tunnel. But it's a privilege, and I hope I know the young people who are young today, they will grasp that opportunity that will come out from this collapse, and they'll build this nation. Yeah.
All right, on that's a really good point on which to end. Thank you so much.
Not at all.
Yeah, and now I think we need to revive doing this a little more, because we are going to see a lot of stupidity in the next
a lot of things are going to happen, and so I think we need to keep reminding people of the reality that has existed and will exist after August 9th. Yeah.